Welcome to the Money Watch Show. It is Sunday, April 19th, and we are here talking about your money. What's going on with you? And who's we? That's me, Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst. I'm a certified financial planner. And he is Mark Talercio. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Jill Schlesinger.
Also, Mark is a CFP himself. He is, just that kind of guy. He was so bored. He was having his first and only child and marriage and this and doing a million different things. He thought, well, you know what? I should get my CFP also. That was crazy of you.
I like exploring new things. At the time, that was new for me, and I don't know. There could be another new thing or two before it's all said and done. Who knows? I like learning new things.
It's funny to be able to have the designation of CFP but not be in the business. I started in the business, but it's kind of a cool thing. I was talking to a friend of the show, Jana Davis, and she was like, it's so awesome that you guys get to do like these mini financial plans and then just like sort of move on. Sometimes you guys give us an update on what has happened, which I love. I do love that. Oftentimes we don't know what happens after. It's kind of like we're in the pit and you've left the emergency room. And our shift is over, and now the night shift comes on. That's someone else's problem. Are you loving the pit?
I would say we're loving it less.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
It's just, I don't know. It's very repetitive after a while.
Oh, wow.
We'll see.
I love it.
I think we're kind of ready for the season to be over. How many?
Well, you only have another hour left. Well,
Yeah.
I think as of this broadcast, it'll be over. But, as we record, no. Mark, I'm so upset. What is it that you're watching that makes you know what you would like? You guys would like Rooster.
Rooster? I've never
on
heard
HBO.
of Rooster.
Steve Carell. I think you'd like that.
I like Steve Carell.
I know. You like him. This is up your alley. I think you'd like it. Hey, Mark, we hear from people all the time and they're like sitting in these houses that have tons of equity. They've got really low mortgage interest rates. I think that's luck more than anything else. You happen to be born at the right time when you could buy a house and things work out for you. The housing market's rough right now, though. It's hard. And, layer on top the uncertainty around interest rates and the war. And gosh, it was sort of like looking to be like maybe the housing market was going to look better going forward. And I don't know. Now it's feeling like the market itself's not so good. So it's a tough time out there. So I thought it was time for us here, as we're right in it, springtime, that we would have a little conversation about the housing market. You game, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it was looking up for a while. Mortgage rates were coming down, but they've obviously taken a turn for the worse here lately.
Yeah. So this got me thinking that I pitched this idea to the morning show at CBS News that we should, it's fine to talk about the housing market, but maybe what we ought to be doing is to also talk about the renovations that would pay off if you're going to stay put. We hear about this from a lot of folks. So I think it would be fun for us to air the segment. And then when we come back, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how our poor younger workers out there are under the gun. And I'll tell you why you feel like you can't buy a house. You know why? Because prices are up, because property taxes are up, homeowners insurance is up. It is a very hard time to say that housing is the affordable choice for you. So don't worry. After the break, we're going to talk about you renters and what you should be thinking about if you can't afford to buy right now. But first, let us do a quick rundown of what's going on in the housing market, the renovations that pay off. This was airing on CBS Mornings. The anchors are Adriana Diaz, Gail King, and Matt Gutman sitting in as a guest host. So here we go. Housing and renovations that pay off.
We're now in the busiest season for the housing market, but there's a lot of anxiety due to the recent spike in mortgage rates and concerns about the economy. So if you are a buyer or a seller, how can you navigate your way through the uncertainty? CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here with what you need to know. You are the best person to help us navigate things. Aye, Captain. So, Jill, what is happening with the housing market right now that people should really understand?
The beginning of the year, there was a lot of optimism. We talked about mortgage interest rates going below 6%, and that was exciting. We heard a lot of stories about listings increasing, so it was really kind of a positive feel. However, with mortgage rates moving back up And with anxiety around the war, I think a lot of people get nervous about a big decision. A lot of folks are saying, you know what, I'll hang out, I'll stay in my house, I'll make it nicer, but I just don't want to make the plunge in buying another home.
I want to make it nice. I want to make it nice, as the Real Housewife said. I try to make it nice. Dorinda, but what do you think are if you're going to make it nice, what do you think are the improvements that pay off the best?
Well, it's so
the bathroom,
weird.
The kitchen.
So let's just talk about the ones. This is a great survey. It's like, where do you get the best bang for your buck? When you put the money in and then you sell your house years later, where do you get that money back? When do you recoup? It is very unsexy. I am so sorry. I am talking about a garage door, a front door. I'm not kidding you. Siding.
No, I want that new backsplash.
Okay, I get it. But some of those projects, when you think about it, even in the world of like tons of crazy weather events, a generator, these are things that actually make a lot of money back for people. But let's switch to the kitchen conversation because backslash queen over here wants to put her back. Okay.
I have
There's a real issue around kitchens because if you look at the three different levels, a low range, a mid range, and a high end redo, just look at these numbers.
What?
Minor repairs. Oh, you throw some cabinets on, you do a little bit of an upgrade, you get a lot of your money back. More than 100% of your money comes back.
Yeah.
The mid level, forget about it. You're getting about 60% back, and you want that high end fancy range and your fancy appliances. I just want to be clear that when you think about that high-end kitchen, you're not getting your money back. It's nice for you. It's great. With a bathroom, just make sure one very important thing.
A toilet.
A toilet is good. A sink is good. But
I was going to say thank you for validating what I've been saying for years.
Okay.
I don't need to do anything. It's fine. The water runs.
Bathroom, if you have one bathroom and you're a three-bedroom house, you really do need another bathroom. Instead of fritzing up your one bathroom, put a second bathroom in. Living space is great.
So, Mark, it's all well and good to be somebody who has a home and you love these renovations, but there are certain renovations, I think, that are just for fun and make you happy, right? They don't have to pay off. What's that renovation for you? What's the happy thing that you did in the house that it enhanced your living quality, but you probably won't get the money back?
It's funny. Let me just start with this. As I was watching the segment that you did, like I would never factor that into my equation when doing a renovation. Oh, am I going to get this money back? Like, to me, who cares? I want to enjoy my home how I want it. I don't care if I'm going to get my money back.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you are not going to be selling for a very long time. I think it makes sense if you're thinking about selling, like, I'm out of here 3 to 5 years. What do I want to do? That's different. That is different.
Then I would say, why buy? But anyway, that's another conversation.
Well, it may be that you found, whatever. You find yourself in certain situations. Oh, we had twins and we didn't plan on it. Whatever. Things happen.
But for us, I guess living in the city, it's different because, some of the popular items that you mentioned, a garage door or a front door, like we don't have those. Like we live in apartments. So all we ever did in our old apartment was, we completely gutted the kitchen. We redid the bathroom. We put in a little laundry room, which I'm sure that would help the resale value. Yeah, and our new place was kind of turnkey. The biggest thing we did was all of our outdoor space.
It's fascinating, though. You couldn't see it because we had a graphic up. But let's just talk about a kitchen remodel for 1 second. And that is that the mid-range kitchen remodeling is $83,000. Okay, this is nationally. It's not everybody. I get it. The minor is about just under 30,000. It's 28,000. Okay. But the minor is where you actually recoup more of the money. So it's clear that like the minor is what pays off and does the job. The mid-range is fine. You get half your money back. But a major renovation, which is a kitchen, 164,000, you get about a third of your money back. That's it. So why is this interesting to me? Because I think people will go really crazy on their kitchen. And I just wonder, is it long lasting? Is that feeling of like, I love my kitchen, or do you get sick of it? I spent a lot of money on a bathroom remodel and I love it. I'll never get the money back that I spent. I love it though. Mark, how do you pay for a renovation, generally speaking? Like, listen, interest rates are still high, so you're going to save in advance, but what do you think about tapping that investment account to pay for the renovation? People feel like, oh, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to pay capital gains. Can you please give your spiel on tapping that money?
Well, in New York, you find a crew out of Chinatown and you pay cash. That's what we did every single time. That's first and foremost. But that we've always talked about this. That's why the brokerage account is there. You build that up to give yourself options and flexibility. It's not there to never ever be spent. We talk to so many people. They have such a fear of raiding the brokerage account to pay for something. That's why it's there. That's why you build it up.
Yeah, and same thing goes for people who are looking to buy a home. If you've got money, you're like, oh, it's so smart. I bought stocks and bonds and exchange traded funds and mutual funds, and I have all the money, but should I actually sell it to pay for my down payment? Yes, you should. But I do want to have a moment here. If you're listening and you're saying, Jill, I could never buy a home, I get it. When Mark and I were studying for the CFP exam, there was an old rule of thumb known as the 28-36 rule. It meant that you should spend no more than 28% of your gross monthly income on housing and no more than 36% on your debts. But obviously, higher housing prices has blown these rules out of the water. So when you're thinking about buying a house, the question is, if I were to buy, can I afford the monthly cost, right? Can I afford the principal, the interest, the homeowners, the taxes, and the maintenance, which there's always something. If you buy a new place, there's always something that's going on, right? And if you say, I can do that, but the only way I can do that is I will not be able to put money in my retirement account for a while. I mean, I can live with like a pulling back of your retirement. Like if you said I'm maxing out right now, but I could go pull back from, the limits of, 20 something thousand, 24,000. I could only do like 12 or 15,000 for a few years. I can live with that if you're young. If it's, I can't do anything and I'm going to be house poor and I can't live my life, then I don't think that makes a ton of sense. I really don't. And, in case your family is putting pressure on you, gang, the cost of home ownership is incredibly high. Okay. I got this stat, Mark. It kind of blew my mind. This is from the World Economic Forum. In 1990, the median American home cost 3.2 times the median household income. Okay. So you have household income of 100. Your house, the house you're going to buy, $320,000. Okay. Today, it costs 5 times the median income. And if you are 20 to 34 years old, which is probably when a lot of your parents were buying their first homes when they were 25, 30, 33, it's now closer to 8 times their salary. So if you're 25 years old and you're making $100,000 right now, to get you into like your median house, that is going to cost you so much money that it is impossible to think about doing it. It is really hard to do right now. It is really hard to get that down payment. It is really hard to maintain that home. And, I think that we would really be wise to give this generation a little bit of leeway here. So much of this is luck. It's like, I love when people are like, oh my God, I worked so hard and I made all this money. I'm like, okay, you did work hard, but you're lucky you chose a profession that paid you really well. If you chose to be a teacher, you could work your butt off and you're not going to accumulate tons and tons and tons of money. So it's the same thing with a house. Like you worked hard to get a house, got it, great. But you were lucky because maybe you were born at a time where housing was more affordable, right? And I'm not just talking about the price. The price is part of it, but even adjusted for inflation, that's what we're talking about. It's hard right now. It is hard. So there are a lot of different ways to get there. If you're worried about this, if you feel like you've got parents who are breathing down your neck and trying to get you to do something that doesn't feel right for you, get in touch with us. Go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, write us a note, and do be clear that, like, if you want to come on the show, we'd love to talk this through with you. But if you're feeling that pressure, you're not alone. We can help you out. So JillOnMoney.com, contact us, check the box if you want to come on the air, subscribe to the weekly newsletter, which comes out on Fridays. Check out all the different stuff that lives on that website, resources, another podcast, our blog, everything is there. And of course, you can subscribe to us on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Please, if you would not mind, leave us a rating and review wherever you listen. Mark Talercio is the co-host, executive producer, and king of all things web. We drop our episodes on the weekends, and we always like to ask you to put your hands metaphorically on someone's back. Someone needs a hug, a virtual hug. Just reach out to somebody. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week.